Within a few minutes of Tampa, there are 4 great places to go paddling on the Hillsborough River. The upper section from Crystal Springs, our favorite section from Sargent Park to Morris Bridge, a twisty turning section from there to Trout Creek, and the Birdwatchers Special from there to Rotary Park. We'll show you 2 of the many options. Let's go to the first takeout. From Route 75, take the Fletcher Ave exit east about 3 miles and you'll see the sign to the park. We'll be taking out at this ramp. If you need a shuttle or a boat, go east on Fowler and see the nice people at Canoe Escape. For the put-in, go to the end of Fowler, take 301 north, and you'll see this sign in about 3.5 miles. A large parking lot and a little beach make for an easy launch.
There's a short channel from here to the Hillsborough River. The Hillsborough is a long and diverse river flowing nearly 54 miles from the green swamp area of central Florida to Hillsborough Bay near Tampa. When you get to the end of the boardwalk, hang a right and explore Flint Creek for a little while.
This river was the first place we ever paddled with alligators. We were a little concerned at first, but everybody told us not to worry. They were right. In 6 weeks of paddling across southern Florida, we never had the slightest problem. Someday we'll come back and paddle further upstream, but for this trip, it's time to turn around and head downstream. The Anhinga are great fishermen. They actually swim underwater and spear a fish. Then they throw the fish into the air and gulp it down head first. But every time they do, they get soaked to the skin, since they don't have as much oil as ducks and other water birds. So after swimming, they have to hang out their feathers to dry.
As you can see, this is a relaxing paddle.
This is the first time I've ever seen a turtle climbing out onto a log.
The Hillsborough is a black water river. The tea color is caused by tannic acid picked up as it flows through the swamps. In this section, the river alternates from narrow channels to broad pools, and the water is slow moving. At least it was when we were here in late April. We did have to carry a canoe over a few logs, but at least they keep out the power boats.
These roseate spoonbills have the strangest way of eating. They open their beak about an inch and swing it from side to side through the water. When little hairs in their beak sense food, they snap shut in a millisecond. We paddled by real quietly so we wouldn't wake up this barred owl.
When you come to this abandoned logging trestle, you're about 15 minutes from Morris Bridge. We were sure glad to spend most of our time paddling in the shade. This trip took us about 4 hours because we were taking pictures and enjoying the scenery, but most people do this in 2 hours.
We take out just past the Morris Bridge. There's the ramp that we showed you earlier. Another Hillsborough option would be to take out at Rotary Park. From Interstate 75, go west on Fowler Avenue and turn right at Morris Bridge Road. You'll see Rotary Park on the left. The start is at Trout Creek, which is back on Morris Bridge Road, just a short distance from I-75. Turn left when you see this sign. This park also has a nice large parking lot and a sandy beach. You'll notice I let Linda walk in the water first to check for alligators. Then if it's okay, I'll walk in.
That's okay. Alligators usually take the bigger meal. It's always great to be back on the water. In just a few minutes, you'll go through a flood control dam and you'll see Interstate 75. I guess the locals know the water is safe and clean. 3/4 of Tampa's drinking water comes from the Hillsborough. Almost all of the river for the last 20 miles has been preserved in its natural state.
The Seminoles called this river Lakchapapkachiska, which means river where one crosses to eat acorns, which is certainly more descriptive, but a little harder to say.
These limpkins came to be an almost common sight, as were great blue herons. Notice how this fallen tree springs back to life in this tropical wetlands. Along the way, you'll see many clusters of cypress knees. These are the shoots sent up by the roots to get air. The river passes through a dense forest of cypresses, oaks, and palms. Many of these trees are covered with Spanish moss, which is actually not a moss at all, but a member of the pineapple family.
You're not going to believe this, but the next 8 scenes were shot within 100 feet of each other. Talk about a birdwatcher's heaven. The show started out with a mating dance of great blue herons. To our right was this great spoonbill tree. Across the river, another beautiful roseate spoonbill was feeding. This great blue heron was heading to a meeting of big birds, so we followed him. We were very lucky to be here when the spoonbills were here, but we're told there are many birds here in all seasons. All in all, we must have seen 50 large birds in this area.
The other end of this pond marks the beginning of Lettuce Lake. There's a 3,500-foot boardwalk that lets landlubbers get close to nature. They could also climb the observation tower for a better view. There is a boat access at Fletcher Road, but it's only for students and faculty of the University of South Florida. The rest of us will continue on to Rotary Park.
You'll start to see more people and a few fishing boats in this lower section. It's certainly not as pristine as above, but sometimes it's fun to look at the houses and take note of all the different ways of storing boats. The Fowler Street Bridge almost comes too soon. We hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as we enjoyed making it.